Hi, and welcome to the Great Charities podcast. Today I'm here with the president of Vegan.at, Felix Hnat. And Vegans is an environmental organization that is focused on nutrition topics. So today I'm sure we're going to hear things about maybe activism, maybe vegan food. So I'm very excited to dive into this. Felix, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you very much for this conversation we are having.
All right. And how did I describe your organization in a correct way, would you say?
Yeah, the official name of our organization is Vegan Society Austria,
Ah,
translated to German. Vegan.at is our website, and we are an environmental charity active mainly in Austria with a focus on nutrition topics.
mm, gotcha. And so is there something you think that the average European citizen doesn't know about your cause and veganism that you would really like for them to understand?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I believe that the knowledge about nutrition the people have is much bigger than their actions they do. For example, most people
Mm,
know that production of animal products is linked to bad animal welfare standards, or people know nowadays that eating meat in big quantities is bad for the rainforest and for environment and for the climate, but still they continue eating a lot of animal products. And our focus is not the main focus is on education, but the main focus is on showing alternatives people could easily adopt. We want to help people to adapt a sustainable lifestyle, to discover plant-based alternatives to animal products without um, having the problem that it's difficult to maintain. That's our strategy.
I see. And from your experience, would you say that the biggest bottleneck that is holding people back from making this change is it money? Is it the taste? Is it knowledge? What do you see is missing?
I mean, that's probably a lot of factors you have to take into account. There are a lot of models who describe that people mainly do that what they are used to do. Also, people are having cultural and sociological habits. In terms of plant-based food, I would say nowadays, because of subsidies, for example, or because of taxation in Austria, if you buy oat milk or soy milk, the taxation is 20%, the VAT, and if you buy cow milk, it's 10%. So sometimes, because of subsidies and taxations, animal products are cheaper as they should be on the market.
Hmm.
And on the other hand, you have a lot of habits. People like to eat and drink the same products they are used to from the childhood. And then there is also the problem of availability, and often it comes down to the point when people want to do a switch in their diet, but they don't know any recipes and they don't know how they get it and where they can buy the products. And that's what we try to do. Also we help to discover restaurants. We help the people to find new products in the supermarkets, to find the products in an easy way. And we support them with recipes and we support them with role models and we show them that they are not alone so they could adapt their diet easily if they're
Hmm.
interested.
I think that is very important job to do. So would you would you think it's the most important that you introduce people to new brands that are more vegan, or do you think you can show them versions of their old brands that are now vegan instead? Did that question make sense?
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say probably we do both. So when you look back 15 years ago, the only alternative was to show them new brands. But nowadays you see that a lot of kind of meat producers or dairy producers or McDonald's, big supermarket chains have new products in a plant-based way. And a lot of people, they do what's the most comfortable for them to do it in their daily life. And so for sure it would be, from a moral perspective, better to support 100% sustainable small startups all the time. But for a lot of people who buy their products in the discounter or in the supermarket, these products are not available. And so we try to promote both versions.
I see. And why do you think there's less tax on the animal products? Because if you made it cheaper as an alternative, you would have more people switching, and I guess you would also have these big companies have a more of an incentive to make plant-based versions of the products they already have. Why do you think that is happening?
I think it has historically reasons in Austria. Also, the taxations got into effect after the war, and back then there was no soy milk or no oat milk or no plant-based alternatives, and there was also not really the knowledge about the problems of dairy products. And the government wanted to support the regional and local farmers to be independent of imports. And so they made some taxation laws for especially milk and meat and other products which are very strong in Austria traditionally. And then times were changing, but especially the Conservative Party, which is very big and important in Austria, they have good connections to the farmers, and the Austrian milk farmers and Austrian meat farmers, they have no interest in changing that taxation. So nowadays it's maintained because they do successful lobbying, but it was introduced because of historical reasons to get, self-sufficient from other countries after the war.
I see. So a lot what you are fighting against is just people wanting to stay the same, laws staying the same, people being in habits. What is in motion in one way stays in motion. So then what is your approach then to change this, to take things in a new direction? Is it activism? Is it role models? Is it inspiration? What's the most powerful tool?
In a moment, we are living in very good and positive times concerning that topic in Austria. It is 100% true that the establishment or the lobby groups of the farmers want to maintain everything the same. But on the other hand, in Austria, we have 1% of the people live a vegan or plant-based lifestyle. We have additionally 9% to 10% of people who live vegetarian. And we know from surveys that more than 52% want to reduce their meat intake. And you also see that already on the market, that in the supermarkets, the shelves with the plant-based alternatives get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the supermarkets tell us that 90 to 80% of these products are bought by meat eaters. We see, for example, milk companies getting nervous and making new drinks where they mix oat milk with cow milk, and then they write oat very small and very big milk on it to confuse consumers. And we also see that in the media, in the discussions you have in the public media, the plant-based alternatives are much more accepted nowadays. And you have films like Game Changers, which the people know and love and changed a lot. So that means there is some dynamic in the whole situation. And we try to support these people who want to switch to a plant-based diet as good as possible. And we do that by, for example, organizing fairs, organizing street food festivals so that people could get to know alternatives. We do that by introducing a vegetarian and vegan label to supermarkets so that people could find the products more easily, and the supermarkets give them more alternatives. We do that by working together with schools teaching people who are in a tourism or gastronomy school how to cook plant-based. We are in contact with catering companies and restaurant chains, and we do service with them and want to motivate them to increase their offer. So that's our strategies we have.
Mm. So it seems like you're very much standing for veganism and wants to show the positive sides of it and how it can make food taste delicious compared to being more of an activist group in the work that you do.
We work with activists because on one hand, activists share our content in social media and in the environment. Also in our street food festivals and fair, we rely very much on activists. And also we come from an activist perspective because 10 years ago, we didn't have any employees and we all were activists. Nowadays we get some money paid, but I mean, the salary is not very high, but we still feel as activists. But it's true, we try to work together with the economy and with businesses. And for sure, we also do education. Yeah? For example, if there is some media inquiry, we talk about the reasons for a plant-based diet and for veganism. But our main focus is to show alternatives and make the vegan life easier.
I see. And what would you say is the biggest success of your organization so far?
Yeah, it's always hard to tell what the effect of work is exactly, because if you take the figures and you look at the number of vegetarians and flexitarians and vegan and the public perception of veganism in the last 15 years, how it developed, then probably you could say that was also an outcome of our work. But we don't want to take all the credit because also role models and international examples played a role for sure. But if you take a single project, for example, we have in 15 tourism and gastronomy schools in Austria, teachers who teach cooking had been educated in theory and in practice, and now are teaching their pupils in a so-called Freifach or unverbindliche Übung, that's some kind of extra curriculum you can take in the afternoon, how to cook vegan. It's called vegetarian, but it's 100% plant-based. And these are the future cooks and the future hotel managers of Austria, who after the school go to their parents' hotel and someday will be managers there. So that's one example which is quite impressive, because we started developing a curriculum, we started developing teaching materials, we got in contact with schools and with administration in the economic sector, and now everything is financed by the state, because the teacher trainings, which takes 1 week, is financed by the states, and the teacher who teach the vegan cooking in the schools and use our materials are getting paid by the state as well. That was one example where I believe that we did very effective work, because we initiated something which now cannot be stopped anymore.
I can really see how that can have a trickle-down effect into so many parts of society. You have these future cooks going out to a restaurant, and now they choose a more plant-based menu in that restaurant. People go there and eat. Oh wow, this was tasty. I want to try to cook this at home, and then you can have a big change that way.
Yeah.
So if we're looking forward, then what would you wish that your organization accomplished in the years to come?
Yeah, one topic we are working on is the inequality in taxation and subsidies. There was a study by the Vienna University of Economics and Business Administration. About 62% of all the subsidies in the agricultural sector are received by meat or dairy farmers. That has to be changed in Austria. Also, the taxation topic I talked about earlier. And nowadays in Austria we have a conservative and green government, and we are hoping that perhaps with this new government we have higher chance, for example, to get rid of these inequalities in the taxation systems. Also, we are in contact with politicians here, and we don't know if we can do it, but our strategy is to always talk about it in the media and create some pressure, because even if you like eating meat, you cannot really think that that's fair, this taxation. So it must be a topic which we could kind of win on a political level.
I agree totally. I dream of a world where you would have a taxation that is not only fair, but also you would add tax on food stuff that is negatively impacting your health that society then would have to pay for. So in Sweden, there's much higher tax now on cigarettes, for example. I wish that could happen on
That's definitely the case. Huh?
yeah. I wish that could happen on processed meat and sugar, and use that money to then subsidize vegetables. I would love a society where people got free vegetables.
Yeah, that's exactly what we also dream about. Also we try to continue our work. We want to reach out to more pupils in tourism and gastronomy schools. We want to reach out to more schools after all. We want to reach out to more producers, to more restaurants. We started a project in a moment with bakery chains and business canteens, also restaurants where the employees of big employers eat. And the next thing we will do is the restaurants chains itself. And then we want to contact the hospitals, etc. That means there are some good examples of work we do, but we want to spread it to all sectors that are in Austria. And we do not only want to improve the food in bakery chains and the food offer in bakery chains, but also in hospitals, etc., etc., etc. So there is some work to do, and I think we found kind of effective ways to address these topics, but we just want to continue the work and thrive more.
So you're really changing the industry from the inside and through businesses and restaurants and...
Yeah, apart from this, we have a Facebook channel with 50,000 fans. We have a newsletter with 30,000 recipients. We have a website with 2,500 visits per day. That means we do education to consumers anyway. So we have 2 people who just work on creating content for consumers. We have also something like Veganuary, but it's called the Vegan Month. You can order emails for 1 month, and then you get emails every day with recipes, with tips, etc. So that means we have a range of communication activities to reach out to consumers as well. But working with the restaurants and with the companies is also a big part of our work.
Man, I'm excited. I'm going to go to your website and get some new recipes. So let's say someone is listening to this now. They believe in the idea of veganism. They're excited about your work. They believe in the way you are approaching this challenge. What can they do to somehow help out and support your cause?
It depends. If they are located in Austria, then we are very happy if these people would check out our website, share some content, visit our events. We have 10 big events in Austria every year. Get in contact with us, perhaps helping us as activists. If the people are not in Austria, sharing the content doesn't make so much sense probably. Then for sure, if the people are active themselves, they can contact us and ask us about our projects, and we are very motivated to share information with them. But for sure, our work also needs some funding. So that means if people like our work and our approach we have, we are also happy about donations, because without the money, we couldn't get bigger and we couldn't also continue our work. because every work of quality also requires some funding. And it's true that we are located in Austria, which is not a country with a very low level of salaries. But on the other hand, we are all very idealistic, and therefore we have very low salaries anyway. So you get much for every euro you donate.
So you're listening. I encourage you to go to Vegan.at and get engaged or make a donation. And thank you, Felix, for coming on the Great Share This podcast. It was great talking with you.
Thank you, Emil. It was a pleasure for me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.